What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. And today, we're going to be talking about Kaapo Kakko and why he is in line to have a massive breakout season in 2023 to 2024. We're really excited about Kaapo Kakko, got some stats to dive into and some quotes, and we're going to go ahead and discuss why we think he could turn himself into a superstar, hopefully playing up on the first line this upcoming season. But before we dive into all that, make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. And without further ado, Eric, how are you doing today, my friend? And what are your thoughts on Kaapo Kakko?
Doing good. Today's been a crazy day in Rangers history. 21 Savage taking a pick with 21 Barclay Goodrow. Who saw that one coming? Not me, but it's out there on the internet now. But more importantly, Kaapo Kakko, right? Drafted second overall all the way back in 2019. And, he's been pretty good, throughout his career. He definitely hasn't lived up to the expectations of a second overall pick, but he's slowly developing. It's not like he's a bust or anything, potentially like Lafreniere might be. But I don't know. Kakko has been slowly developing throughout his career. We know when he first started making his way over to the NHL, he had a little bit of a slower start, had to adjust to the different rink size and style of play in the NHL compared to over in Finland. But I don't know, he's pretty solid throughout his career so far. 239 games played, only 98 points. Not horrible, but when you consider that Jack Hughes, who was drafted right before him, had 99 points just last season, it's like, all right, Kakko, it's time to step it up. He finally has his opportunity now. He's most likely going to get first line minutes playing alongside Kreider and Zibanejad. So it's the stage is set for him to put on a show this season.
The stage certainly is set for him to put on a show this season. Now, Eric, before we started recording, you told me a very fun fact about Kappo Kakko. If you search him right now, the only thing that's trending about him on social media is that his name sounds like a Harry Potter spell. To that I say, Kappo Kakko, Expelliarmus. I don't agree. It doesn't work for me. I don't think it sounds much like a Harry Potter spell. But what it does sound like is winning. It sounds like a star in the making, superstardom on the way. That's what I think when I hear the name Kaapo Kakko. 82 games played last season, 40 total points throughout his career, 239 games played, 98 total points. He put up most of his points this past season alone. Really good portion of them, 22 assists, 18 goals. I thought that he played pretty well. And I thought that at the beginning of the season in particular, whenever he would get onto the ice, it was like a spark plug. He was always bringing a lot of energy. And I think that Kaapo Kakko left a lot of points out there, but that's not like a criticism of him. It's like he was really developing, and had he just had a few of those pucks go his way or a few of those plays go his way, we'd be talking about him like he already is the star that we're hoping for him to be. Like, he was really close to having that big breakout season. Some might argue that he just had a breakout season, but I think that once he gets this increased playing time, plays on this first line, some of those plays that he maybe didn't finish and didn't execute fully, I think he's going to start finishing them. And I think we're going to see a really big season in store. But Eric, when we're looking at Kappo Kakko and the way that his career has progressed, going from the kid line, now hopefully moving up all the way to the first line, do you think he's ready and can handle that jump right now, that increase in ice time? And what do you think that increase in ice time can really, what kind of effect do you think it's going to have on his performance?
I absolutely think that Kakko is ready to play up with the big boys. And, you just look at him throughout his entire career. I fully believe that when it comes to handling the puck and like protecting the puck in the offensive zone, Kaapo Kakko is the best forward with that ability on the New York Rangers. And you just like, especially last season, you'd watch him receive the puck at like mid ice, carry it into the zone, and it would take like 3 or 4 opposing players to get that puck off of him. And sometimes that even wasn't enough. If he has the puck and he's skating around with it, he's going to hold on to it for a very, very long time. Puck possession is one of his best assets. And when you look at the first line, it's going to pair together perfectly. Where Chris Kreider, he's always the type of guy who's going to make his way to the in front of the net, ready to put in a rebound or tip it in. So if you have a guy like Kakko, who's basically just going to do everything to bring the puck there and then get the puck there, his number of assists is just going to go up insanely because of that. And then especially with Zibanejad as well, a great shot, amazing one-timer from him. Again, Kaapo Kakko, he's just going to get the puck to Zibanejad. So when it comes to goals, I'm sure we'll see an increase in that as well from the ice time, but assists especially, they're going to skyrocket from Kakko when he's playing on the first line. And, like you said, he's had those moments where he looks really good. He just hasn't really been putting up the points. That's like absolutely true. Kaapo Kakko has been playing, especially again last season, like a fully developed NHL player who should be scoring 70 to 80 points per season. He just hasn't been a finisher. So as soon as he starts to be able to put the puck into the net, that's like the final piece of the puzzle to turn him into the NHL superstar that we know he's been able to be his entire career.
Yeah, and one thing that I will say, I think when he's playing alongside this talent up here with Kreider and Zibanejad on the first line, that might be enough to just propel him to be a better player anyway, just playing with greater talent. But I think that one thing to keep in mind here, or one question to pose is, will breaking up the kid line have any sort of negative effect on these guys, right? Because we've kind of talked about Philip Hedl probably getting trapped down there. We've also talked about Lafreniere. Where does he move to? Does he start playing right wing? Does he stay at left wing? Does he move up? Does he move down? What happens to him? That's a big question mark. But ultimately, do you think Kaapo Kakko would be affected by this move away from the kid line, no longer, playing with Alexi Lafreniere and Philip Hedl? Or do you think that he's kind of the one guy of those three that's safe from feeling any sort of negative repercussion from moving away from the kid line?
Honestly, I think it would be an improvement from all three of them to possibly break them up because, like, we know the kid line has been phenomenal, one of the best lines on the Rangers, and they contribute what they can. But I feel like at this point in their careers, their like level of skill together has basically reached its ceiling. And you're like, if we keep them together, they'll continue to play at like that elite level. But if we want them to improve and play even better, I think something's going to have to change. Like especially with Philip Hedl, I have a very strong feeling that throughout parts of the season he's going to be playing up on the second line rather than being trapped down there. Kakko has all this potential where he's making the moves, he's making the passes, but he's just not putting it in the net. So you could blame that on him not developing properly, or you could say maybe that it's just the fact that a guy like Lafreniere might be bringing him down. And that's not to say Lafreniere's bad, but like I've said, I feel like the kid line is at its peak, but them as individuals are not. So I think that breaking them up and letting them kind of go their own separate paths to fully develop into solid NHL players and not just a solid NHL line might be the best move for every one of them.
I think that's an interesting outlook on it. I think that's kind of a bold take because I think there's definitely fans that might disagree and say that keeping them together is really important considering how well they've played together, the chemistry that they have, the way that they gel. But I kind of lean somewhere in the middle. I think that it's going to have a positive effect on Kappo Kakko. I think that having him play up on the top line with Kreider and Zibanejad, that's going to propel him to be a better player. But I do worry about breaking up Lafreniere and Hedl because I think that Lafreniere, I mean, as you mentioned, potential bust. Hedl seems just buried down there unless they move Trocheck down to the third line, which is a whole nother debate. Unless they want to move Trocheck over to a different winger spot and take him out of the center line. But I think that with Hedl and Lafreniere, breaking up the kid line could potentially have a pretty negative effect. Kaapo Kakko is the only one of the three that I feel confident in that's going to benefit from this whole ordeal, breaking up the kid line and moving him up. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that kind of idea?
Well, I mean, I would just say obviously yes, Kago is going to benefit. I just think the biggest question mark, as always, is Lafreniere. But like, I don't. Maybe he won't benefit, but I definitely don't think it would hurt. Where like, I don't have Lafreniere's individual stats pulled up right now, but where like he hasn't played bad, but he also hasn't like excelled. So I think maybe a change of scenery might be the number one thing that could help a guy like Lafreniere really just switch things up and finally start to produce. Because if it's not working with Hedl and Kakko, you might as well try something else. And I think, like Hedl might play half the season down on the third line. He might play half the season up on the second line. I think the only way to realistically see the kid line stay together would be if the entire line was just moved up to the second line. But then you're going to have guys like Artemi Panarin and Blake Wheeler playing down on the third line. And that's just like something that's really hard to imagine.
Yeah, definitely hard to imagine. But I think that these lines kind of could go any which way right now. We'll see what Peter Laviolette wants to do with this team and where he wants to move these guys around, who he decides stays and who goes, especially once we inch towards that trade deadline, once the season kicks off. Maybe if Lafreniere might not be playing too well, we could totally see him. The bust rumors or the bust label starts to get a little bit larger. I could see him getting shipped out. We kind of discussed that midway through last season, but and honestly, for what it's worth, he technically hasn't even signed that extension yet. So he could still be traded this offseason. But we'll see. I think that they're all going to stay on the squad at the end of the day. But they're going to be broken up. I think the kid line is finally at its end, and Kaapo Kakko is the one who's going to benefit the most. But, Eric, when you're looking at Kaapo Kakko's game, strengths, weaknesses, where does he need to improve, and what does he need to keep doing the right way in order to have this breakout season?
Yeah, I mean, not to sound like a broken record, but I think the number one improvement that he's going to need is to finally learn how to finish these plays. I've said it throughout this video. His puck protection, puck handling is extremely high. He could become a little bit quicker, but that's not really his style of play. He's more of a power forward than he really is like a grinder or a playmaker or anything like that. So he's a big guy. He utilizes that size. And I think that's what he benefits from the most on the ice and how other people benefit as well. I think he's a great passer. He's good at controlling the puck. Really, just the biggest thing is it's finishing. He's the type of guy who could have the puck all the way down in our zone, carry it all the way up, walk around the entire defense, get on like a breakaway, but then he just won't score. So as soon as he learns how to just finish those plays, he's going to immediately just explode with points.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And like I said, I'm really, really excited to see Kappo Kakko's breakout season happen. Number 24, the old Kobe number. We'll see if he can have his Kobe year. Only 22, so not Kobe year in age, but maybe he has a big breakout season like we saw from Kobe Bryant many, many years ago. RIP. But I really love Kappo Kakko. He's definitely one of my favorite players on the squad right now. I think he's really exciting. But let's talk about Peter Laviolette and the effect that he can have on Kappo Kakko, Eric, because I want to know, what your opinion on that is, because we saw Kappo Kakko have his moments where he was very off script in Gerard Gallant's system. We've talked about that quite a lot, how Gallant kind of just let the players go out and play hockey, didn't necessarily put them into an offensive system, no box that they were in. And I think that Kappo Kakko, who was a player that stood out as benefiting from that a lot of times, freestyling, just going crazy with it, but again, not finishing those plays. Maybe Peter Laviolette's more structured offense is the key to finishing those plays, to scoring more points. That's kind of the mindset that I'm in, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I definitely think a lot of the problems with Kakko was just like sometimes he would be in the wrong place at the wrong time. We know that he has the skills to be a goal scorer. So just if Peter Laviolette is just like Kakko, you're going to keep doing what you're doing. But at the time that Zibanejad's carrying up the puck ready to pass it to you, I want you to stand right here. It's that alone, just like positioning and making sure that they understand set plays. Where it's not like hockey isn't like football where every single play is like been set and practiced for weeks and at a time. But there are set plays in hockey that have proven to work. And I think that's kind of what Peter Laviolette is going to bring to the table. So just have a young guy like Kakko who has just like the raw instinct and talent already to just be given a set game plan and stuff like that. I think that's going to benefit not only Kakko, but the whole team, really.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to make as well. So I like I said, with Kappo Kakko, I think that there's a few things really going for him with this breakout. Peter Laviolette hopefully helping him play better, playing up on the first line, increase ice time. But what do you think might be going against him? What could be preventing him from having this breakout season, Eric? Like, if there is any big determining factor that ultimately rains on our parade and prevents us from watching the big Kappo Kakko breakout season, what do you think that factor would be?
I mean, it honestly could be something as simple as pressure, where, he's a guy who was drafted second overall, hasn't really shined that much. We signed him to a bridge deal, who I believe this upcoming season is going to be the final season on that bridge deal. So, like, payday's coming up. And if he wants to remain on the Rangers, make that money, he's going to need to have a stellar season. And kind of like what you said earlier on, it's just like, is he ready to make that jump? He's been playing down on the third line pretty much his entire career. He's had little bits and pieces up in the top six, but unless something crazy changes, we're most likely going to see Kakko just thrown up there next to Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad. So like the pressure may come down on him, but I don't know. He's a talented kid, and I think he has it in him.
I do too. We wouldn't be making this episode if we didn't think he had it in him. I think that this is going to be a big time breakout season from Kaapo Kakko, and I can't wait to watch it unfold as we creep through this slow time of the NHL offseason. And real soon, we'll be talking about hockey games and hopefully seeing the New York Rangers push their way into the postseason once again. But they'll be doing that on the back of Kaapo Kakko as he goes through this breakout season. That's the hope, and that's the dream, and that's what we're holding on to. So make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on this topic down below in the comment section. Without further ado, we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.